AI never sleeps, and this week has been pretty insane. We have a new video generator that allows you to control videos like this, where you can swap the characters or the backgrounds. We have another one that does this. We finally have the ability to add custom styles or characters to videos. We have a new AI that can generate 3D heads, which you can edit further. We have another one that can generate really accurate 3D models just from one photo, and a lot more. So let's jump right in. First up, this AI is pretty incredible. It's called 3D Traj Master, and this is essentially a video generator, but you can control the movements of one or multiple objects in the video. It takes in a text prompt describing what you want to create, but then you also input a 3D trajectory, which defines the path which you want the object to move. And this allows you to control the movements of objects within the video. So let's say you want the location to be desert, and then you input a trajectory that looks like this. Well, if you input a lizard, then you're going to get this video. Or if you input a polar bear, you're going to get this. If you input a rhino, you'll get this. Or here's a woman, and here's a puff of smoke. So this gives you a lot more granular control over how you want the characters to move within the video. Now in this example, we kept the background the same, right? We set the location as desert. Well, you can also swap the background like this while keeping the character the same. So here, if we prompt the character to be a koala with a body covered in soft gray fur, large round ears, and a black nose, and then if we input the trajectory to look like this, then notice how the koala indeed moves along this trajectory in all these videos. However, in this case, for each video, we have a different prompt for the location. So for example, here is a stone path, here is a desert, here is a beach, here is a snowy field, here is a grass field, and so on and so forth. Now, so far I've shown you an example where you can swap the background, another example where you can swap the characters, but you can do both at the same time, plus you can input multiple trajectories. So here's an example where you can upload the trajectories of two objects, and then for example, if you specify a polar bear and a drone in the woods, you're going to get something like this. Or if you specify a man and a robot in a desert, you're going to get this. So a very flexible tool. Here's another insane example with not two, but three trajectories. So you can see for each video, we have now three different objects moving along our specified paths. And here is yet another example. But there's more you can do with this. You can also edit specific things in the video, like the person's hair or clothing or gender. So for example, let's say you prompt it with a man with short black hair, medium figure, gray striped sweater, black jeans, light brown leather shoes. And then of course you also need to upload two trajectories, one for the man and one for this bird. And let's say your initial video looks like this. Well, you can also prompt it further to edit specific things in the video. So for example, instead of short black hair, if you change it to bald head, it indeed makes the man's head bald. Or instead of a gray striped shirt, here's the result with a yellow shirt. You can also add things to the man. So here, if you add with a backpack, the man indeed wears a backpack. Or you can even change the man to a woman like this. So this is a super powerful feature for video editing. And so far, even with the best video generators out there like Sora or Kling or Minimax, they do not have this feature where you can just edit the colors of a person's shirt or edit their hair, for example, while keeping everything else the same. But with this AI, it's finally possible to do more finer editing. Now, if you compare this with other state-of-the-art methods, which also allows you to input a trajectory to control objects in a video, for example, Dora, which I featured a few weeks ago, note that this new one, 3D Traj Master, generates much more accurate results in most cases. So for example, here if you prompt it with a dog with a fluffy coat, wagging tail, and warm brown fur, and if the location is a sunset beach, and then if the trajectory looks like this, note that this new one, 3D Traj Master, is the only one that really follows the trajectory that we specified. Here's another example. If the prompt is a woman with long straight black hair, a blue denim jacket in the city, and then if we add this trajectory, note that none of the other competitors, Dora or direct-to-video, could actually get the woman walking specifically along that trajectory. But this new AI was able to handle it really well. And if you add multiple trajectories, here's where this new AI really starts to shine. So if we have a man with messy black hair and a zebra in a forest, and you specify 2 trajectories like this, note that again the competitors, Dora and direct-to-video, couldn't really get the man and the zebra to follow the specified path. But the new one was able to get this correct. Anyways, if you scroll up to the top, there's a Hugging Face link with the dataset and a GitHub repo which contains all the instructions to run this using the open source cog video. Anyways, I will link to this main page in the description below for you to read further. Next up, we have a new open source audio generator, and this one is really good. It's called TangoFlux, and this can generate a really realistic and accurate audio clip just from a text prompt. So here are a few examples. Here, if the prompt is a basketball bounces rhythmically on a court, shoes squeak against the floor, and a referee's whistle cuts through the air, here's the generation from TangoFlux. Perfect. So indeed, you can hear the basketball bouncing on the court, you can hear shoes squeaking, plus you can hear a referee's whistle. Now let's compare the same prompt with another popular audio generator, Stable Audio Open, and you can see that the quality is not as good as this new TangoFlux model. Anyways, let's hear Stable Audio Open. So it just sounds weird. The referee just keeps blowing the whistle and there's not much sound of, basketballs bouncing or anything like that. Here's another tricky example. So the prompt is dripping water echoes sharply, a distant growl reverberates through the cavern, and soft scraping metal suggests something lurking unseen. Let's play TangoFlux first and hear what that sounds like. Perfect. So indeed we hear dripping water, we hear echoes, plus we hear a distant growl and kind of soft scraping metal sounds. Now let's hear Stable Audio Open. Okay, so that was the generation by Stable Audio Open. As you can hear, it doesn't really incorporate any growl, plus even the dripping water doesn't really sound realistic. Here's another example. A pile of coins spills onto a wooden table with a metallic clatter, followed by the hushed murmur of a tavern crowd and the creak of a swinging door. Again, a very tricky and complex prompt. Let's see how TangoFlux handles this. Very nice, very nice. And then here is Stable Audio Open. So you can hear the coins dropping, but you don't hear the murmur of the crowd. So as you can see, TangoFlux is just better at understanding the context of the prompt and generating more realistic audio samples. By the way, here are some technical specs of TangoFlux. So it can generate audio clips of up to 30 seconds long, plus this is super efficient. So if you compare the inference time, or basically the amount of time it takes to generate an audio clip, with other text-to-audio generators like Stable Audio Diffusion or Audio DLM2, note that TangoFlux is by far the fastest at generating audio clips. But not only that, it's also the highest quality. So here you can see it has the highest clap value and the lowest FD score, which means the audio is better quality and more accurate. So it seems like TangoFlux is right now the best open source sound generator that you can use. And the awesome thing is the code is already out for you to use. So if you scroll up to the top, there's even a Hugging Face space. They have the dataset. Plus, they have this GitHub repo, which contains all the instructions on how to download and use this locally. Anyways, all the links are at the top here, so I will link to this main page in the description below. In other news, you can now fine-tune LoRa's for Hunyuan video. Now, if you have no idea what this means, here's a brief background. So Hunyuan is a completely uncensored and open source video generator that just came out recently. And this is the best open source video model out there. It's even comparable to some of the top commercial models. In fact, all the clips I'm playing for you right now were generated with Hunyuan. So as you can see, this is really impressive. Now, if you're not familiar with Hunyuan, definitely see this video for a full review and installation tutorial. Anyways, this week they released the ability for users to train a LoRa. Now, a LoRa is basically a smaller model which you can add on to a video to create a certain style or character. So, for example, on Civet AI, you can see that there are already a ton of Hunyuan LoRas which you can use in your videos. For example, if you want to create a video that looks like this, you would add this LoRa. Or if you want to add Emma Watson, you would use this LoRa. Or here's a LoRa to turn your video into Studio Ghibli style. Or, oh my, what do we have here? Or you can also add Natalie Portman, or Taylor Swift, or Scarlett Johansson. Or you can also generate like Rem from ReZero, or there's also a lot of different characters from Blue Archive, and then here's a realistic version of Rem. I mean, there's already a lot of options available. Or if you can't find what you're looking for here, there's also this very comprehensive article on how to train your own LoRa. But note that this is super technical, plus you do need a decent GPU to do this. But anyways, I will link to this page in the description below in case you're interested in training your own LoRa. But anyways, I think this is a huge game changer. With LoRa's in an open source video generator, now anyone can duplicate the style of anything or create consistent characters or add any existing character or person in a video. This is a super powerful feature. Next up, this AI is also pretty cool. It's called Perse, and this can create a 3D head from just one photo of a person. Now, I've already featured some other 3D head generators on my channel before, like Cap4D, as you can see here, or Facelift, which I featured last week. But this new one, Perse, is way more flexible. Not only does it create a 3D head, which you can animate, but you can even edit things like their hair, beard, eyebrows, and more. This unleashes a ton of creative possibilities. And here's an even crazier thing it can do. So not only can you create an editable 3D avatar of this person just from one photo, you can then upload another photo of a person like this, and then transfer certain features like this guy's hair onto this 3D avatar. And you can even blend different facial features together. So on the site, there's this interactive slider which you can play around with. Let's say you have two input images. One looks like this and the second one looks like this. Well, you can use this slider to kind of mix the two beards together. Here's another demo. So if the first photo looks like this with this hairstyle and the second photo looks like this with this hairstyle, notice what happens to the avatar's hair as I move the slider. So a very flexible tool. And by the way, here's how it works. So the system consists of two main stages. In the first stage, it takes an input photo and generates many more photos with different facial features and expressions. This creates kind of a synthetic dataset of photos of this person. And then from this synthetic dataset, in the second stage, it takes all these photos and creates a 3D avatar which can be controlled and edited. And this model allows for disentangled control, which means you can change the facial features independently of each other, like changing the hair color without affecting the rest of the face. Now, this AI can of course be super useful for creating personalized avatars for video games or social media. Or people could also use this to try out different hairstyles or beards. Now, at the top of the page there is a GitHub link. However, when I click into it, it seems empty for now, so we are quite early to this. They haven't published any code yet, but for now I'm just going to link to this main page in the description below for you to read further. Next up, this might very well be the future of video editing. Now, last week I talked about a new AI model called DeepSeek version 3. This is an open source model that even beats OpenAI's GPT-4o and Claude 3.5 Sonnet in most benchmarks. Now, because this is open source, this means that you can run this locally or fine-tune it or plug it into whatever tool you want. So one of the use cases for this is to actually use DeepSeek in this Hugging Face project called AI Video Composer. So previously, if you click on parameters here, previously they used Qwen, but now if you change this to DeepSeek, it's actually a lot more powerful. And this basically allows you to upload a bunch of media files, and then just with a text prompt describing how you want the video to look like, it will edit your video accordingly. So unlike traditional video editing, you don't need to work with this timeline here, you don't need to do any masking or any other manual stuff. Everything can be done by just prompting this AI. So for example, let's say we have 6 cat images and this audio file. You can prompt it with this. Create a 3x2 grid of the cat images with the audio as background music. Make the video duration match the audio duration. And here's our final result. So perfect, it creates a video with all 6 cat images in this 3x2 grid, plus it adds the audio to the video. Now, this is just a really basic Hugging Face space, which I'll link to in the description below, but I think this could be the start of the future of video editing, where we just prompt the AI and it would make the video clip for us instead of us having to do a lot of manual stuff. In other news, we have a new AI video generator called Pixverse 3.5, and I must say I am quite impressed by the quality and details of its generations. Now, Pixverse had previous versions, of course, like version 1 and version 2, but they were quite mediocre, and it was definitely not up to par with Sora or Kling or Minimax, which I featured on my channel. However, this new version 3.5 I think is as good, if not even better. So I'm still testing it out at the moment, but here are some quick samples. So here, if the prompt is horror film, a swarm of zombies attacking people at a metro station, shaky camera, note how detailed and sharp the video is. Or here's an astronaut riding a unicorn in the desert. I mean, this is super sharp and realistic and very consistent. At least for this prompt, I would say it's even better than, Kling or Minimax, which looks like this. So as you know me, I'm cheap as hell. I like to try out stuff for free. So the reason why I'm suggesting this Pixverse tool to you is because you can sign up for free and you do get 90 initial credits, plus you get 60 additional credits every day, at least for right now. So that'll give you enough credits to generate like 1 or 2 high definition videos per day. Anyways, I'm gonna test it out a bit more, and if it's good, I might do a full review video on this. Thanks to our sponsor, TurboType. You can create custom keyboard shortcuts so that you don't need to keep typing out repetitive things. So check this out. Let's say there's a prompt that I use often in ChatGPT. Let's set the shortcut to /sum, and then I'll type in the prompt that I use often. I can even add in a variable to include any text that I copy. And then let's say I find an article that I want to summarize. Well, I can just copy the URL and then in ChatGPT type in my keyboard shortcut, and voila, super quick way to write prompts. You can also drag and drop shortcuts onto any text field. I can also select any text and then right click to easily add it as a shortcut. Finally, it also supports rich text. For example, you can add in bold and italics and add links to your text as well. So let's say I need to send out a lot of cold emails with the following template. Well, I can just create a shortcut for that. And then whenever I start an email, I just need to type in the shortcut and then whatever I type in, it will automatically generate the template. And then I can just click send. And then once I send the email, it will automatically generate the template. And then whenever I start an email, I just need to type in the shortcut and then And voila, the text is already styled and linked for me. There are hundreds of pre-existing templates that you can choose from, including common prompts for ChatGPT, business, finance, medicine, and more. This tool saves me so much time every day, so definitely check it out and download the free Chrome extension in the link below. Alright, next up, this project is also super interesting. It's called Dora, and this is a really accurate AI that can generate 3D models from just one photo. Now, technically speaking, Dora is a variational autoencoder, also known as a VAE. Now, if you've been playing around with Comfy UI or Stable Diffusion or Flux, then this term should be quite familiar to you. If not, a VAE is basically a way to compress and decompress data. So in terms of Dora, this is a VAE that can compress complex 3D shapes into simple data and then back into 3D shapes again. Now, current VAEs for 3D modeling use something called uniform point sampling, which can lead to a loss in details in the 3D shapes. This means that the reconstructed 3D shapes might not look as good as the original ones. But Dora has a new approach called sharp edge sampling, which improves the VAE's generation of a 3D object. This method basically identifies and focuses on the most important parts of the 3D shape, like sharp edges and corners, and ultimately this helps the VAE preserve more details and create better looking 3D models. So here are some examples. If you input this image of a snowman, here's the 3D model that you get from Dora. Or if you input this wooden board, here's what you get. And by the way, it's really tricky just from one image for the AI to determine what's behind this image. But as you can see, it's able to generate the back of this wooden board and the back of this snowman pretty accurately. Even though it has no data, it kind of has to guess what that would look like. Here are some even more impressive examples. So this is quite a complex character with a very complex design, but as you can see, Dora was able to handle this very well, including, the complex badges and designs on his coat. Here's another example of this dude holding a glass of beer, and again, it's quite a complex design, but Dora was able to generate a 3D model of this very accurately. Here's another tricky example of this dragon, and again, Dora handles this very well. Here are some trickier examples. So this mecha robot is very detailed and it's quite hard to generate, but just with one photo, look at how accurate and high quality this 3D model is. Here's another example where I would say it's really hard to generate a 3D model of a bulldog's face, especially, the wrinkles and the facial features. It's really hard to do, but Dora is able to handle this very well. Here's another example with this very complex and tricky design of this cat Gundam creature. And the awesome thing is, the 3D models that are generated by Dora are already ready to use in modern 3D engines like Unity. And you can use these 3D models in real time. So here's an example where, you can input one image and then get Dora to generate a 3D model, which you can then use and animate in real time. And so on the note of, real-time processing, this is another benefit of Dora. It's very compute efficient. So here you can see it says that Dora achieves comparable reconstruction quality to state-of-the-art methods while requiring a latent space at least 8 times smaller. Basically, this means that Dora can generate high-quality 3D shapes while using less computational resources. Now, if you scroll to the top, it does say the code is coming soon, so it looks like they are going to open source this. Anyways, I will link to this page where you can look at additional examples and read further. Next up, this AI is pretty cool. It's called GenHMR, which stands for Generative Human Mesh Recovery, and this can take a video and kind of detect the 3D pose and the model of the people in the video. Now, before I go into the details of how this works technically, here are just some insane examples. So as you can see here, even with this super high action scene, the characters are running around and doing a lot of acrobatic moves across these rooftops, the AI is able to predict the poses of these two characters really accurately. Here's another even crazier example of many people running around in this war scene. There's explosions everywhere. It's quite chaotic. People are bumping into each other. But again, this AI, GenHMR, is able to detect most of the poses of these characters with very high accuracy. Here's another quite chaotic example of this footage of a race. And again, as you can see, GenHMR can detect the poses of all these runners with very high accuracy. So as you can see, this AI is really good at detecting the poses and 3D models of multiple humans in a video. Now, really quickly, here is how GenHMR works. So it consists of two stages. The first stage is called uncertainty guided sampling, and here is where it generates multiple possible 3D poses of all the people in the video. And then it selects the most likely one based on the input image. And then in the second stage, called the 2D pose guided refinement, this basically refines the generated pose and 3D model further to make it more aligned with the original image or video. Now, that being said, there are still some flaws and inconsistencies with this tool. So here are some examples of some flaws. Note that if the video frame looks like this, the generated pose doesn't really align with the person's arms and legs. Same with these gymnastics examples. Note that the toes aren't really pointing in the right direction. This is another tricky example. It doesn't seem to work too well with wide angle shots like this. So note that the size of his hands and feet aren't really correct. Now, unfortunately, if you scroll up to the top here, there is no GitHub or Hugging Face link or anything like that. So it looks like the code is not out yet. But anyways, this is just a really accurate generator of 3D human poses. So I just thought I'd share it with you because, this tech is really interesting. I think this could easily replace existing motion capture technologies by this year. I mean, there's no longer any need for anyone to wear a suit with markers or do any of this traditional stuff in order to animate another character in a video. Anyways, that sums up all the highlights in AI this week. Let me know what you think of all of this. Which tool are you most looking forward to trying out? As always, I will be on the lookout for the top AI news and tools to share with you. So if you enjoyed this video, remember to like, share, subscribe, and stay tuned for more content. Also, there's just so much happening in the world of AI every week. I can't possibly cover everything on my YouTube channel. So to really stay up to date with all that's going on in AI, be sure to subscribe to my free weekly newsletter. The link to that will be in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.